Okay, so here we go. I got my card switched in, and what I wanted to say is while I was there, okay, this kind of like spiritual stuff happened where it was on the door, there's this guy kind of looking out and smiling as I'm taking a picture with him. I turned around and I looked. Now, that was not my intent. I didn't know that this image was there in the door when I took the picture, which was unique to me. When I kind of collapsed here on the floor during my recording session after Let Your Love Flood Through My Soul, I was going through the season of acknowledgement that there was brain intrusion, meaning that there was a violation against me in the fact that somebody was getting into my thoughts. Okay, and I explained that in other videos. I don't want to keep explaining it, but what ended up happening was that was coming up to me in conversation, and they would say, it was like there was a girl who was trying to communicate with my brain, kind of like imitating Miley Cyrus or someone like that, and they were going, July Blues, I'm inside of you. July Blues, I'm inside of you. So they were trying to pretend. Somehow they were communicating with my mind and in my thoughts, trying to get me convinced that they were inside of my head. And basically, they were mentioning that they were going to what? Take me, okay. They were mentioning to me that they were going to take me back to that place that I took that picture at, and they were going to harm me. Now, with that being said, I'd rather not go into the eerie details of it. As far as I know, I already talked about everything. These are the things I've acknowledged since coming here in 2014 to 2018 now it is, in case this video is out there for a few years. This is now October 12th, 2018. These people, whoever these people are, have, with their technology, been trying to manipulate my thought process to get me to take everything off my social media pages, try to instill fear in me, to scare me away from doing stuff. They have taken like I know, and they literally had somebody else do almost an identical video structured around the same theory of a transsexual female looking through magazines and dreaming, having a vision of becoming, meaning to transition from male to female. A lot of the elements within my video, a lot of elements within my song, they even titled the song I Know, a lot of strong connection with it. They even went to the point of guidance with me when I typed in I know, meaning that it was in my head, and then I typed in I know, then I saw the video. The video I have not seen recently when I did another search. What I mean with that is the fact that while I was working in my studio after doing my 50-song project, I put my content out there, and what information was put out there, they tried to give an illusion on some of it, like what they were doing, like for instance with the Cadillac thing, only started when I initially put that information out to the general public. Okay, that's just an example of putting that stuff out in the general public. Some of the stuff that I have been talking about in the privacy of my home for years, and I never put out into the general public, were ideas that they were using on my Facebook to continuously show me. When you scroll down on the home page, like I talk about things and now it comes to life on my home page. Let me tell you something. That is artificial. That is created by man. In other words, if I say balloon, if I say for some reason I'm thinking of a purple balloon with my name on. No, yeah, a purple balloon with my name on it. Okay, then I go onto Facebook later on today and I scroll down that home page. There might be a balloon there. It might be purple. It most likely will not have my name. It might even have another name of Tracy on it. Who knows how much detail they want to do. In other words, somebody's listening to me while I talk in the privacy of my home, and then they go out and on my Facebook page, it's like there's psychologists or psychiatrists or people just simply messing with me on my home page. And when I scroll down, I see sporadics, little tidbits of things that I've been talking about throughout the day on a scroll down. Now, let me tell you something. In my opinion, that's an artificial presentation of what happens in real life, which means that there is a real God and it really does communicate with you, or these people have the means and technology to either input data or like a video game or something. They have the technology to actually get in, and I don't know how much of us that they can actually control our thought process, manipulating it, getting us to say things, or how much of our body they could use. I don't know how far NASA can go with this stuff. Maybe we should be asking them or questioning them what all they did do when it comes to this technology with satellites up in supposedly outer space. You know, is there like alien forces, do you think, that are like the size of a dot, that can actually kind of get into us and use our bodies or get into our minds? I don't know. These are things that I was curious about, but my personal opinion is they have access and they're on a computer and they have a computer program. They can actually read our thoughts. They know more than we could ever imagine. They have via satellite. They can watch us in the privacy of our home. It goes through, the walls and the ceiling and all that other stuff. I literally seen like white lights, and it appears to me like that motion. And it's in my music videos. You can see it. You can see it going across me. They try to get connected here, or it's connected there to like your membrane, if you will, the back of your head, or your brain, that back part of your brain. And then they manipulate your thoughts. They read the data off your thoughts. They can actually see through your eyes. So who knows? It's kind of like we're a computer. Do you think so? Does it matter to you if you learn that other people are doing that to you? Throughout my life, even when I was a kid, I remember talking in conversations, especially when I was in a band with the drummer, Jerry, is what? It appeared that they were either aliens or that we were being watched somehow. Do you ever feel like you're being watched? We would talk about that as a little kid. Well, chances are, if you're saying that, little child, if you're ever saying, it feels like I'm being watched sometimes, chances are, yes, you are being watched. Very closely. I was just thinking of something yesterday, and I just wanted to point this out. I think I seen this when I was living in the Huber Heights house. And that is, have you ever noticed that like a name like Elvis, that if you put an H in front of it, you will have hell is. Now, depending on how you say Elvis, right, you will have a chant of Helvis, or hell is. Elvis, Elvis. And depending on how it's said, and you got a picture like a computer saying it, Elvis, depending on how it's said, and how it's utilized in programs, it can almost be like an acknowledgement to the conscious mind, trying to embed, meaning burn like a CD into your brain, that hell is. Did you ever think of that? I think I seen it while living at that house. And I think I was staying in the bedroom on the other side, to be honest with you. Now, when I was watching, my story is I love Elvis. Not hell, but I love Elvis. And throughout my life, I'm probably not nowhere near as much of an Elvis fan as a lot of Elvis people. But I really did appreciate, to me, I think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I was even though I appreciate it, I was more drawn to Elvis as an American symbol than I was to the Statue of Liberty, and I love the Statue of Liberty too. Don't get me wrong. I always wanted to go see the Statue of Liberty and have the opportunity. I think you used to be able to climb in her, and I remember when I was really upset because I found out at that time I don't think you were allowed to. They were working on the torch or something, and you weren't allowed to do that. And I was always hoping that, it was kind of a disappointment to me because I was hoping someday I would be able to be one of those people to visit the Statue of Liberty. You know, and that probably comes from seeing television shows and, reading up in school. That was one of my subjects of study. I really appreciated learning how. Was it the French that brought it over? I forget exactly the details. Maybe you could help me out with that. So I don't want to educate you on that, but the Statue of Liberty to me, obviously it means something different to all of us, but is a symbol of freedom. Well, that was to me what I felt about Elvis, and it freed me so much from the dominancy of the patheticness of what's on the radio and what we see in television. The fact that Elvis has a very humble, shy, very, singing songs like gospel songs and Christmas songs, and basically every category, country music, and a lot of the messages that were in the songs. I couldn't help, but the honesty is that I fell madly, obsessively in love with Elvis. And because I'm a transsexual female, it is no doubt that I would assume that if Elvis was alive, he might not appreciate it so much. He may think it's funny, or maybe he'll be like, wow, I'm attracted to people. I don't know where he would have been at in his mental status, but you can only imagine that people try to protect an image. So when they try to do that, if something's coming at them that they do not prefer to be in the dominancy of the general public, they'll try to shift them away by some means. With that being said, in that house, I was so loving. I credit a lot of my inner spirit and healing when I came here to Ohio. I was so obsessed with Elvis that I laid in my bedroom and online, it was there for a season, by the way. Online, there was a list of a lot of his movies that he was in years ago. And I watched every one of them. The funny thing is wasn't shortly after, within a few months after I watched those movies, they were not posted online anymore. Okay, so I don't know if psychologists put stuff in those videos and therefore embedded stuff into my brain. I don't know what all happened to try to put me in some kind of trance or whatever. Be careful when an event, this is real, this is what we've been taught is like in television, but if they know that you are dominantly, for instance, I'm in love with Elvis, then they will arrange on the internet a list of Elvis movies. It's not the fault of Elvis or maybe even Elvis Enterprise, but these people would get those movies and then they put subliminal messages within it, which could be audio and it can be visual. They already got your two senses. With that being said, with the way the brain functions, there are people, psychologists, that really understand the details. They can use music videos, they can use television shows, they can use commercials, they can orchestrate each one of them for where they're trying to take the dominant masses as though we were one mind. They can get into that one mind and try to now dictate what it is that we should be approved of, not approved of, how we should live our life on a day-to-day basis, or even get us to what? Think thoughts that actually lead us to death. Okay? And meanwhile, while we're just laying in bed, depressed, and we're watching these movies, who knows what we're consuming with our eyes and with our ears. Thank goodness that we can still touch, and that we can still smell, and that we can still taste. Because why? Because it keeps us grounded in the fact that we're here. When we start watching television, especially with somebody we're in love with, we'll start being consumed so much, right? We'll be consumed. And with that being said, a lot of us start to become like them. It varies for everybody. Some people become like, it appears that a child was just born. Okay, so be very careful on what you become obsessed with, because you become very much like. I have seen incredible guitar players, and these incredible guitar players, it is very obvious to me that, wow, they're doing things that I would have loved to do when I was younger, or even up to a certain point when I started realizing I don't want to be doing what's already been done. I have something within myself. I know I have something within myself that's uniquely similar, but has variances that make it more of a personal identity through the law of attraction. And the details matter. very much. So anyway, imagine hearing Elvis. Hell is. You got the V in the middle. Elvis. 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 Do you think it's Elvis? Let me tell you something. Understand that in rock and roll, it has been known when I was at Graceland that a lot of people, in many different ways, end up going to the king of rock and roll's house. They call it Graceland, and pretty much spill out their heart. And can I tell you something? Don't be surprised if while you're in Graceland, spilling out your heart, that somebody's not listening in. Now, if you're not careful and you're listening to somebody on TV, a preacher lady, she may tell you God's always listening in. Yeah, but she'll never tell you that God, right, that she's talking about and referring to is really people. And from what we've been taught, putting their nose where it doesn't belong, invading our privacy. God is everything, so of course God's always listening, and God's in us. Something to consider. When they're saying Elvis in the general masses, don't be surprised if it's not doing something to brain that says hell is, which means it's a kind of like if they made that king, right? If Elvis really is, and I don't mean this in a mean way because I love Elvis. What Elvis means to me. How about this? I love what Elvis means to me, and the music and stuff like that, and Graceland and Memphis. And therefore we should all be free to love it as we do. There's something within it for me, and I embrace that. But here's the thing. Understand, when you put that away in a psychological state, if you have a king, then intelligence would say, if you're looking to man as a king, then know this, that king who's declaring their kingship is nothing more than a king of fools. Because the real king lives inside of each and every one of us. That is Jesus Christ, which is Lord God over all the living. Now, understand this, Elvis, some people argue as to whether or not his death is real or not. Did he plan his death because it was time to retire? The image? They had something to go with? How corrupted was Elvis Enterprise? How many people offered songs, offered lives, offered all kinds of possessions for Elvis Enterprise because they loved Elvis that much for years and years and years and years and years later. Be very careful about offering any of your possessions. Some people have manipulation of the mind to get you to give everything to them, including songs. Well, some of us will not give songs to others, even if it is Elvis. They have other plans. It's their property, even if it has the name Elvis in it. Now, with that being said, I honestly, and the reason I say that is because when I met Stephen C. Johnson down in Nashville, Tennessee, when I sang down there, I almost every time I sang at a writer's night, I sang Ragtop Cadillac, which has Sing to Me Like Elvis, I'll Pose for You Like Miss Monroe. Okay? The song was in celebration of the 50s. After meeting and speaking with Stephen, I learned, yes, my song in its entirety was written at Catherine's, okay? And I sang it when I played out. I sang it when I was at my house. I'd have to look at my files to see what all, if it was lyrics, if it was the actual song recordings that I posted online. But here's the thing. You do not have a song like that and not have the interest of people from Elvis Enterprise drawn to you immediately. Only they'll go through a circle of different people, okay, to blockade the fact of who's coming after you. Since meeting with Stephen C. Johnson, I've had a lot of weird stuff happen to me since 2012, and in my opinion, I could tell you that I would assume that anything with the name Elvis in it, they're going to want. My song is a major hit. It's not a small hit. It is a major hit. And when you have a song like that can generate all that it can generate, because that's what they're interested in, the power, the freedom that they can receive. They open up their minds to, if I can have a song or a group of songs or all the songwriters' songs what ends up happening is they know in their mind what they can already start to do because they've been living life differently than the rest of the humans. They know what they can do while having that song in that possession, what that song could do for them. In other words, they look to enslave everything, even songs, for whatever their purpose is, which is usually along the lines of corrupted and not the best interest for the general masses of society as its entirety. Scary stuff when you start to realize maybe Elvis is hell is. And the way that they program psychologists, not Elvis Enterprise, but just in general with everything, how people actually manipulate the masses' brains into an oppressive way of thinking about life, into an illusion that this is reality, when the truth of the matter is, most of what we've been taught is not in alignment with the truth of us as to what reality is. Be a free thinker. Do not, which means to me, I never knew what that meant, which means do not fall into agreement with anything you've been told by anybody. Read your Holy Bible. It's the best that I could offer to somebody else. Read a Holy Bible. I don't know how to tell you whether or not all the information contained within it is true, but it did work for me, and I think I got one or two at Walmart. I got one at a mega church. And I think I got one at Amazon. So there you go. And they seem to fall pretty much in alignment. Okay? There's no guarantee, but the information I'm sharing with you, if you fall in agreement with anything that I'm saying, you think that what I'm saying is beneficial for the life where you're at right now, I didn't even know that heaven is in our brains. That's where it is. That's where the battle is. And people target your brains, your mental status, and they do it by all kinds of means, even means where somebody can be living thousands of miles from you, maybe on the other side of the planet, and they can be beaming a laser down at your head, and they can tamper with your thoughts. Once you start to be a free thinker, you start realizing, whoa, you better have a support group, because you realize it's real. You might have 5 or 10 people playing with your head all at once. It's crazy. Sometimes it seems like it could be fun, and other times it doesn't seem so fun. Okay? You can get adjusted to it, and you can live through it. Their goal is to try to drive you nuts that you either commit suicide, or could that be the reason why people decide to take their life in blowing up buildings, or people go crazy and they take machine guns and destroy masses of people? You think it's because people end up tampering with their thoughts? They're like a humanoid or something? Until you're a free thinker, you don't really acknowledge, whoa, you want to be responsible for each thought in your head, but it is not possible. Okay? You got to know who you are, and the best way is to do that is to seriously ask Jesus Christ into your life, inviting Jesus Christ into your life, and asking Jesus Christ to be more like loving, merciful, graceful. That's what has worked for me, and it took years because I didn't have very good teachers, to be honest with you. And I couldn't actually ask them questions and them give me direct answers. It was, we'll be praying for you. Well, some people think. In other words, they try to avoid the direct. Mega churches, you are being targeted. Meaning, somebody's tampering with your thoughts. Think it's Satan? Think about it. If you dominantly hear Elvis, how many times did you hear hell is? Mistakenly, even. Now, with that being said, enough about that. One thing that I was really upset about is once I realized, Joyce Myers, how I was going to get that CD out here. I'm getting too comfortable here. See that CD? That's one of the things I wanted when I first moved out here to Ohio, where I said I wanted to have a double CD and write a book. And I wanted to do, well, a huge tour. I think I might have said worldwide tour, but that's not what I want. Worldwide? And it's pretty big. I want to do my music is what I realized, but that was what was driven inside of me, rock and roll ministry. And can I tell you, rock and roll ministry, my hunger for that and desire has birthed out life. And I'm very happy about that. However, meanwhile, when applying teachings, I didn't know how to get all this going, and it could have happened a lot faster if I would have had really good teachers. And I'm hearing the garbage can smack around, and can I tell you, that irritates me. It's right beside my window. Joyce, you teach people into a dumpster lifestyle. If you're out there in the world and you want to live a life of victory, a good, wholesome life, know that you're better off to turn off Joyce, shake your head for a while, turn off the TV and the radio, and start getting what? Trying to ask reality to please invite you in, because you need to start acknowledging that what? You make all the choices, and everything that gets done through you. And you need a safe place to live where a crazy psychopathic man isn't going to kick you out every time you try and attempt to get started on stuff. Years it takes. Many of them. We're here for 4 years, and I'm finally starting in 2019, right? Now, by God's grace, looking to move to Columbus, Ohio. I never looked at Columbus, Ohio and wanted to live there. I looked at Columbus, Ohio and wanted to visit because it was ranked one of the top 5 places that were with the LGBT community to live. They live there, meaning there's a lot of LGBT folk within it. So there's a lot more what? Acceptance and appreciation and understanding, education. And these are things that I was looking really forward to consider. So I was thinking, do I want to move in Florida? Most doctors told me live at least close to a bigger city. You want to live, no, actually they said you want to live in a bigger city. I love Dayton, and don't get me wrong, and if the details were right, I would be happy. Unfortunately, especially with limited means, it's not so fun when you can't set up the details of your life. And all of a sudden you realize there's a whole lot of opposite than choices I would make. You don't ever want to be stuck in a situation you cannot make choices. And that means taking a towel and snapping it against the asses of the people who took political leadership positions and aren't informing you that you are entitled to a measure of freedom so that you can live your life. In fact, if they were honest and they stayed with the Holy Bible, they would tell you you're entitled to every use of everything there is. Somebody's yard, somebody's car. That's right. Go up and tell the president you're going to borrow his condo or his penthouse suite, whatever he's living in the Trump building, while he's not staying there. Tell him it's not his. It belongs to God, not Trump. Well, what do you think he'd say about that? Do me a favor and take Junior, pack him a suitcase and set it outside and say you're out. Why? Because you had plenty of time to live here. Now I want to live here. Okay? Because most people who have lots of money got that lots of money very corrupted. And money is nothing more than an illusion, right? That we have some form of freedom. And if you get into God's word, you will find out that what? Everything belongs to God, not Trump. Not the government. And by the way, God is not man or a group of men. God is every living thing and beyond. And if your government is not for you, teaching you what to do, it might not be a real government. In other words, who you call president might not even be a president if he's not teaching you and educating you. Uh-oh. What do you think about a government that's not even real? God's government, most likely, what? Is every single thing, right? God's government. And if it's for the people, know that that's on an individual basis, which we really get down to the little molecules or whatever it is, the little cells. I don't know what else they have, but only God can understand all the details with that. So let's hope they're doing the best they can, but I don't think they are, to be honest with you. In fact, I know they're not. One thing that I was very disappointed in Dayton, Ohio, is the City Planning Committee. I'm from a smaller city, Lebanon, Pennsylvania. We also have Lebanon County, and then we have townships, etc., etc. Since I've been out here, I love the fact that I can use Dayton on my address, Tracilyn from Dayton, Ohio. I like that. But the truth of the matter is it kind of gets confusing for somebody who came from the outside. When you live in a city that's about, 40, 50 miles wide? Or a radius? I mean, it's pretty big. To know that, like when I lived there, that's considered Huber Heights, but yet it's also considered Dayton. Well, that to me is very confusing. Now, I got to be honest, living at Huber Heights, I love using a Dayton, Ohio address, so I don't want to complain too much about that. But the truth of the matter is, it is confusing. Now, in the section where I live, because when people ask you, where do you live? I say Dayton, Ohio. Well, what part of Dayton, Ohio? Exactly. Why should they say that? You live in the city, you live in the city. Well, the bottom line is I live up about 20 minutes from the center city of Dayton, Ohio on what would be considered the northwest side, okay? Up on Salem Avenue. And that's heading out towards, like, is it Trotwood? I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. So I live up in that area. With that being said, there is literally nothing to do up here, city planners. Whatever was left here of some shopping center and a place to take your car to get work done on it, just left a empty shell of a building. Let me ask you something. I almost died several times, and a lot of that reason was because there was no work available. No work available, no work available. And I have to pass that whenever I go to get groceries because intelligence says Kroger's food is just a little bit too expensive for me. It's even worth it, believe it or not, to go all the way over to Walmart, which is about 6-7 miles away from where I live at least. I don't like to go to that Walmart because of many reasons. I used to work there as one of them. So I go even further to Huber Heights to go to Walmart. Okay, pretty much behind my old house. With that being said, I'm sick of seeing a parking lot where people who once had a business there and somebody owns it should have cleaned that junk up and disposed of it properly. Hey, Trump, there's a lot of brick, a lot of block there you could recycle and use it for your big wall you want to build across America to divide up the Mexico borderline. What do you think? Are you going to use recyclable material? There's a lot of it with all these abandoned buildings. I bet you haven't even thought that or considered it on behalf of the American people, have you? No, you didn't. You didn't bring it to their attention. I guarantee you didn't. Why not use fresh resources from the earth to do it? And let's just keep wasting things, rich people. And then when we're through with it, we'll just leave it sit in a parking lot for people to spray paint. Did you see what they spray painted on that wall, Trump? I posted it on my Facebook. Yeah, there you go. There's one. We have such a loving America. They love and are very supportive of their president. It makes you wonder why a very supposed successful businessman would even want to run the country. Why do you think that? Run the country where? Where are we running to? My question is why is the focus on a wall and not on all the other priorities and needs the American people really have? Instead of blaming and shaming everyone down in Mexico for whatever reason, why don't we invite them up? And maybe they have a plan for us? We never know. God can use anyone. There might be a plan. And some of the people we're trying to wall out of our lives. Maybe. Whatever you do, do not choose skin color, physical appearance, or identity. Don't include that in your observation as to whether or not somebody should be close to you, because it may be what? That God is using them in ways that the person you would like them to use, would never use. Why is that? I don't know why. It could be because of whatever's inside their brain. Maybe we're here on a mental life journey and it's not so physical. It's great to appreciate the physical, most certainly. However, when we get into the little tiny words inside our head, we'll find out we could probably sit alone all day long and talk to each word. That's how marvelous they are inside of our brain. That's what I've come to realize. It's my natural high. You ever want to have a natural high? Start talking to yourself. Go somewhere safe and talk to yourself. That's when you start realizing people are listening to you when you're talking to yourself. They used to lock these people up as being crazy. Humans talk. That's what we do all day. We talk to ourselves and we talk out loud. These are people that what? Take action then. How many words do you have to hear yourself say before you get up off the couch, get yourself dressed, and go do what's on your heart to do? A lot of times we have to think, and we avoid it. Think and avoid it. Think and avoid it. We avoid what we have to do. But once we start realizing, we might have to sit there and say, what, to your family members or to your friends, I'm going to get out of this couch, I'll go to the store, and finally what happens? I'm going to the store. I know I'm going to what do you want at the store? Did you ever do that? Something tells me we all did it. How long are you going to lay on the couch? How long are you going to sit on the chair? How long are you going to lay in bed? Aren't you going to get up? Aren't you going to get up? And then you reply what? How does the other person reply? I'm getting up. I'm going to get up. I am going to go to the store. How many times do you have to hear or say something like that before the person's literally up, we're half dressed, and away we go? Can we have a good attitude about it? Or how long do we have to keep talking before we'll start laughing and saying, you know what, life is fun, I'm going to the store. Anything you want, give me the list. Do you ever go to the store and say, I hate going to the store. I cannot stand being here. I am so sick of shopping at this store. I am sick of waiting in line. Are you sick of waiting in line at Walmart? Hey, Walmart! On behalf of the American people, we're sick of waiting in line while our need for whatever we have with us is putting the other people in slavery. Did you ever notice the cashiers are usually in slavery? Well, heck, now they're building the stores that we can go in and check out ourselves. What do you think of that? Soon they're having McDonald's. You can just pull up. They don't even need employees anymore. What are we going to do with ourselves? Well, I've realized if we're being true to our heart, we most likely don't want to do a lot of positions that we end up in throughout life. I ended up working as a cashier at Walmart. I already explained how many jobs I applied for and couldn't get work, and I was a student of Joyce Myers, Joe Osteen, JT Jake, you name it. I was watching and consuming my mind with all of it. Reading book after book after book. It's your time, now's the time. Sometimes it's the power of the mind, all of this stuff. And let me tell you, I had some gentleman that brought me in here off the bridge telling me I have to do something. Because why? Because a girl that was with him was continuously telling him that I am basically lowlife. This hurt me even more. I started applying for work, but I'm here for a rock and roll ministry. Well, started applying for work. Trump, why didn't I know what to do? I'm suffering from serious bipolar, major depression, personality disorder, PTSD. I got all kinds. GID used to be on the list. What is going on here, Trump? Why do I have to be considered disabled to get my needs met? And why don't I know about this and how to do it? Well, hey, Trump, if anybody ever asks you, tell them to call up Tracilyn. She knows. Give them my email address, tracilyn21@gmail.com. Give them my personal cell phone number at 937-242-2375. I thank you, President Obama, that I had a phone in my time of weakness. Why? Because without the Obama phone plan, I wouldn't have a phone or a number to call. Would somebody stick their tongue down his throat and thank him for me, Mrs. Obama? Or is there another fantasy girl in his life with a penis? Who knows? There's a lot of things going on behind closed doors many of us don't want to admit, and none of us want to what? Have anybody find out? Makes you wonder what's really going on behind the closed doors of the White House. Do you think the Trumps are getting together all in dresses? Do you think the entire Congress, all of D.C., is having girls' night out at the White House? Could be. It could be that there's a lot of people that like to do all kinds of things. And woo, that flips some of the circuit boards in our brains. Why? Because we've been taught this is wrong in our lives. That's right. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, all the girls in the community. And don't forget to thank Talia Monte. She's a BDSM star from way out there in Hollywood, California. Why? Because I got, for the first time in my life, to meet people in the porn industry, the adult film. And guess what? I actually sat down and talked to them, and they were more enjoyable to talk to than most people I met in my whole life. Why is that? Because I could speak freely, sir. That's why. And it wasn't what the world would consider perverse. It was just normal conversation. They could just accept that I was a transsexual female and escort, adult entertainer, a BDSM submissive. They could accept the fact you wear diapers. I get it. It's okay, you know? In fact, you can come to my place and I'll spank you. Well, imagine an adult BDSM or porn star telling you that. Well, if I would have known that years ago in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, when I was looking at the TV guide, I would have been on the other side of the TV, and I would have been what? Saying, hit the camera, hit record, I'm ready to go. Mom, what do you think of me now? I'm in LA. Well, I don't know if Mom ever understood that. Does it matter if she understands, or does it understand that you're enjoying your life and that's what it's about? The TV will suck us in. Before you know it, your favorite guitar player that was hanging on your wall might be beside you. Or that porn star that you were watching, that's what you call it. They don't like it, some of them. They're, say, adult film actress. Well, there you go. You start learning the proper language that draws you closer to them. I didn't even know who Savannah was until she sat on my lap, by the way. And then I knew who she was, because I went home and I started looking for all the tapes. Funny stuff. Here we go. Check this out. The city planners never planned this area for Tracilyn to live. Bottom line, they didn't. Yes, safe housing gets you out of situation there where all you can do is lay in bed and cry your eyes out, pick up sticks, mow the grass, shovel snow. Look, it's not much to take care of that property, is it? No, it is not. However, if you don't have your needs met that are true, things that you really want to do, you're gonna cry and cry. Why? Because you want to be able to do what you want to do. Most people will tell you then go to school. School doesn't teach you anything that is conducive for what I've come to learn. I would be in school for 10,000 years. In fact, I should probably have an award from School of Psychologists and say, you've done quite well, Tracilyn. Minor adjustments and wow, we are now your student. And guess what? When I was working on my project, I realized all the things I realized from Lebanon, Pennsylvania that were not here. Connections to people in the music industry or people who love music, who have instruments and interest in music, playing music, okay, musicians, songwriters, etc., etc. Now I was starting to with the NSAI group, but what I realized when I was here is I need resources like guitars. Well, my brother used to loan me guitars all the time, bass, his Fender, you know, and it was a switch off because I would do something for him, whatever he wanted me to, and I would just use it. Why? Because a lot of stuff, in my opinion, I love to play acoustic guitar. That's what I got right there. Yep. That's what I really wanted to play, you know. I'm always very drawn to like one special guitar that I really, really love. Man, someday, I used to sit there in the house and think someday I want to have a collection of guitars. But why? You want to have guitars that are meaningful to you. They have a lot of meaning. That way, if they're hanging in your room or in your wall, if it was somebody that gave you one, for instance, or if it was something that had a special event, or that you used it for, I can imagine how amazing that must feel because I used to have a life similar to that. Very small fraction compared to where I'm going. They do not have a guitar center in Dayton. They have it out. Everything is out of Dayton, out of Dayton, out of Dayton. So whenever I went to the guitar center here, I went down, I think it was to Middletown maybe. And the thing is, it's about a 45-minute drive one way. And you get to Guitar Center, you do what you do, and then in 45 minutes coming back. Yes, you can order things online, but depending what it is, don't you want to go to a store and touch things? Talk to the salesperson? Hopefully they have a good attitude. Not always, right? Why do you work there if you have a bad attitude? Why don't you just leave and go do something you want to do? So somebody who's on their mission to do something they want to do can talk to somebody cool. Because I used to be able to talk to people that were cool and not cool, but I knew where to go to all these guitar stores where people were really cool too. They would even, hey, even national well-known recording artists would literally show you the door kindly and open it for you and say, see you next time. Now, that's how amazing the places were that I was drawn to. Now, when you're out here, there's nice people, but the truth of the matter is this is what I'm getting at. No Guitar Center in Dayton. I couldn't move to an area in the country that had it all set up for people like me who want to live. And not keep going way out there, maybe to a whole nother state or a whole nother city or 45 minutes away, an hour away all the time for every little thing you want to do. When you have, by your generous government, impersonators who are minimizing how much freedom you have to live your life. It's not realistic. I don't know any of your names. I know Trump. Okay? The president of the country, or should I say company. Maybe it's time for this company to go on strike and start picketing. Not just at the White House, everywhere. Why is that? Because we're sick of the BS. Look, if you don't believe me, read the Holy Bible and learn how free you are and how corrupted everything is. Take the Bible out of a child's hand and, well, they go through life stumbling all over the place. Now, and that's the truth in a different way. If you're feeling very miserable right now, that could be it. Could be a lot of it. But you don't want to fall in agreement with somebody else's idea of God. And that's what most of us do. And then we don't believe in Jesus. We don't think Jesus is real. Do we ever sit down and think it's all about our belief system? And that's why they hijack us at birth, tell us exactly what we're going to be, and then they hijack us again, and now we have to go to school to learn nothing, and then we end up infested with lice laying on a Los Angeles beach where they tell us we did it to ourselves. Okay, we don't want to keep talking about that. But the city planners did not plan this area as any kind of city, really. In fact, it looks like it used to have a lot going on. And of course, just like the rest of America, it's disappearing, and now we're all shopping on Amazon. And remember, when you're doing a search on a certain item, like a video camera, a piece of clothing, or a brush, or whatever it is that you want, know this. They know that people pay attention to numbers. That's how they programmed them. Not all the reviews are real. And just because something has 1,500 view counts or reviews on it, don't be so sure that it had any on it. It was just made up so that the masses dominantly buy that item. Woo! What a sales pitch, right? What a sales trick. Be careful. They know how to get the right items that they want in the dominant masses' custody. Ah, the American life. Now we're starting to learn how the select few percentage of people get extremely rich. How many investments do you think Trump and Trump's family has in resources and other forms of financial reimbursement that is extremely corrupted? I could probably go through his filing cabinet and start throwing out some ideas. We might even be able to start with his wife. What do you think of that? We never know. I'm just saying we might be able to start with his wife, Mrs. Trump. So anyway, I had to go way out. And every time I needed something, even if it was guitar strings, I started to learn that I have to get everything on Amazon, or go to a musician's guitar for the musician, or whatever that is, musician's friend, and you keep going. Then you got to talk to them about the price. Is the same price at this place? And did you ever do that? You go to Guitar Center way out there somewhere because they never built one close to your hometown. Never. Not even in London, Pennsylvania. I had to go up more towards Harrisburg to it. They put it more in those bigger cities. I don't know what the real reason is. Do we want a Walmart of guitars? Chances are no, we want family owned. Everything, most likely. And not one family of America. We don't want the Trumps, for instance, to own a dominant portion of America. We want our families to run life throughout America, which may look like businesses. You would go to a Guitar Center, and then you got to try to bargain with them about price matching when it comes to going online. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Price match, price match. Double check you have your smartphone, you have the means somehow on the internet, price match. And you tell them, if I can buy this same product online for this price, I want to buy it here for that price. Well, they'll tell you that's exactly why some of those stores are going away, and vice versa. I understand. What is the answer, folks? Well, the answer is we got to start talking to the people who are fronting to be they're impersonating leaders of the people, okay? And when they do that, they're not adjusting what it is that we have decided to use, which is money, okay? With a promise that it's worth something. And with that being said, the adjustment on the cost of materials and the resources and the livelihood on American soil and what a person is given realistically, the means to survive if they're lucky, a little bit of money. The truth of the matter is, it's not in alignment with the way things have always been. It seems to get worse as time goes on, and it's not realistic. For instance, $15 a month for food, Donald Trump, it's not realistic. I want to come to the White House, and I want to give each body, whoever you are, especially the Trump family, a $15 food card, and I want to supervise you. And I want to make sure that all the food you eat all month is only $15. You can't use other people's food card or eat their share of food. Now, realistically, Trump, what would you have to do that? I would like to walk with you. I can show you what to do. You would never make it on $15 your first month, your first week. You, Trump, wouldn't make it for one day on $15 for food. So why should Tracilyn only get $15 a month? Trump, come to Dayton, Ohio. Bring Junior with. I want to see you eat $15. You probably do that in one sitting, at a table. One plateful probably costs you more than $15. What's going on? Something's not right. My stomach shouldn't be growling. Do you ever just call a pizza place and find out what they charge in D.C. for a pizza? What about New York, Trump? Can you get a pizza in New York with $15 from your EBT card? Why don't you invite me there and show me that it's possible? The best pizza. Why not the best? Why should it be the worst? Trump, I have a problem with you and the rest of the government. No, I seriously do, and I never thought I'd say that. Why? Because I'm an innocent, loving, caring person. You're pretending to be something you're not. You're not a real president. And you sure as hell are not a leader. Not to intelligence, you're not. Trump, make a phone call and get my food card increased to a realistic price. I should be able to go with my food card into any grocery store. There's a grocery store right down from my house. It's too expensive for me to eat there on a regular basis. It's called Kroger's, where I smacked my head. Okay? Because their sign isn't high enough off the sidewalk because our city councilor in Harrison Township don't give a fuck. I do, Trump. Why don't you just give me 20 grand to go lift that sign up about 5 foot? Huh? Because that's the way you rich people are. You charge absurd amounts of things for things that are worthless. But where it counts, you avoid it. When the question comes to you, Why do I have to wait in line for 3 hours to get food? At a food pantry, when there's a Kroger's a block and a half from where I live, Trump. My name's Tracilyn. 937-242-2375. Don't be a puss. Call me. Tell me you're going to see to it that things are straightened out. They did not plan this city for living. They call this Dayton. Guess what? I love Dayton. Not the mentality. That is not conducive for life. I love the life portion. I don't like the portion that is not. By the way, Trump, I'm getting electronically harassed, and somebody just died not so long ago, 2 doors down from me. Okay? I see more unhealthy people in my presence on a regular basis than I did my whole life. It scares me thinking maybe Dayton, Ohio is under some kind of military attack, maybe from another country? Do you think so, and you're not telling the American people that? Or are you? Why can't we afford to eat? And by the way, Trump, why should anybody have to pay to go get groceries for a day? We're kind of like squirrels. We're kind of like rabbits. In other words, whenever we want to eat, we should be able to eat. Money shouldn't be in the way. In the event that this was $1, any form of money, okay, paper, might as well put a tree in front of it. Here's freedom to look into the camera, right? What happens when you put money in the way? Do you see me? Here's your sign. Yes, it's an illusion. And if you think it's worth something, well, there you go. It's worth something. If to no one else, to you. Hey, Trump, by the way, I have something to offer in exchange for a beautiful life. But I've been kind of centered out by people in the music and entertainment industry that I know have been using me as a resource. I don't see that as being just by any means. It happens to a lot of people. It's called invasion of privacy. What I realized when I was living here is every time that I need something or want to do something, I pretty much have to drive pretty far away to get it. If I did not have a car, Trump, this would be very, very frustrating and difficult. Unfortunately, it's not recognized in the state of Ohio anyway, or where I live, that the fact is that you should really have an additional, because the fact that we live in the Midwest, and everywhere you go, it only makes sense that you have a vehicle so you can drive there. Do you think this may have something to do with my personality disorder, Trump? It's what makes sense to me. Oh, there went my garbage lid again. My nice quiet place for release my mental stress. I want to show you something else too. By the way, I realized that when you're getting assistance and stuff, you got to be mindful of things that you conversate about, because more so or not, everybody thinks that you are the one that, what, should be more like a submissive? The truth of the matter is, no person on this earth should have to be a submissive. We should compromise and work things out. When a person, a human life is here, it's our obligation to see as a family that its true needs are met. Not an illusion of what needs are. Trump, people have a tendency of telling you this is what your needs are, but the truth of the matter is, they might not be your needs at all. How about if we take your helicopter away from you for a week or so? Would you go through withdrawal like a little baby? Also, I'm extremely tall. Many people have said it. Even an officer, Trump, that pressed false charges on me for prostitution in York, Pennsylvania. That was really nice of him, wasn't it? Hey, Trump, I probably wouldn't have needed government assistance, is it? It's not government assistance, it's people assistance. In fact, it's people entitlement is what it is. Okay? And that's the way it should be. We should be given it at birth, so we don't have to be dependent on one person. We can take care of ourselves. In other words, the leaders of this country, if they're real, should have made sure that each human being can have a fair portion to get their life started. And even if their mommy and daddy start giving them too hard of a time, they can provide a safe place for themselves to be and eat instead of living in a cold, scary world. Here we go. I wanted to show you this. When I first moved here, I was getting my apartment ready, and I finally accepted the fact that what? Well, after I got off the bed and I stopped crying my eyes out, I started to try to lift my spirits up, and I figured that what? Me and my stuffed animals. Heart. Do you see Heart? There's Heart. There's Batches the bear. There's Samantha. I love her a lot. And there's Star. Some of her stars have come off her right foot, but it's okay. She's still one of my favorite. I love her. And here is Batches. My giraffe. I don't know if I ever named my giraffe. Sometime I'll have to tell you about the story. It was in my one music video, isn't it? I actually held her with one of my arms while I rode my bicycle. Quite a distance along the river. I got her for like $2 or $3. What do you think of that? So here it is. I'm trying to get myself excited about living here, and I made it a determination. I am going to record my music. Now this shouldn't be that hard. My personal identity was all messed up. My sexuality struggles because I wasn't taught right? I wasn't taught that it's okay to get screwed in the butt. Ooh, ow, oh, actually it feels pretty good, okay? When it's done right, it feels good. Don't just go out and do it, all right? Consult a physician before you do it, but make sure that you have one that is gay theirself, if that's what you want to call it. Make sure they do it in the butt too. They can better instruct you on what to do and what not to do, and always be safe, wear a condom, okay? Partner, and make sure you provide the condom for your partner, because you can't trust anyone, no matter what, because there's a portion of that that's in them that is for you in a moment. And the rest of that portion, who knows what's going to happen. So always be safe. Don't let them talk you out of it. Okay? Some guys don't like that. Well, too bad. Always be safe. Now, here's the thing. Check this out. Getting a little excited talking about it. So here's the thing. Let's get my studio set up. That's what I did. I got my studio set up. And I love my studio very much. Finally. But I got this set up, planned. I didn't have nobody helping me. I had to do a lot of research online to figure things out. And this is the best I could come up with where they are at today. And someday I'll take you on a tour of like my actual studio, and I'll share with you how it came to me to learn even about this material here, which right now I don't have all the details with. But the thing is all the little things, interface, okay, my interface that I use, which is going bad. I could use a new interface, you know. If anyone out there has one and you no longer need it anymore, please consider. This here, I had a lot of problems with it the last time I was doing a song. It could be from electrical harassment, I'm not 100% sure. But it took me years to realize about this. Just to have a passive direct box. I personally did not know. I used to use one when I played out because I had problems with being jolted on my microphone when I would be singing and during live performances. And just something like that, as little as that. I didn't know about how to use anything when it came to recording. Joyce, you didn't teach me into relationships with people with compatible interest. And that's what the problem was, my dominancy within my desires and my passions. Well, it's not your responsibility. I know it isn't your responsibility. It's mine. The truth of the matter is, I would think that a teacher's teachings would be leading you into what? How to connect with people that are best suited for you. I didn't even know that you're only interested in a relationship with God and the God that's for you, life, not people. We're not here to serve people. Most people will say, I will serve my life to Christ, and that Christ is always for the life for you, which means you're serving yourself. And therefore, when a Christian leader tells you, don't be selfish, tell them to go screw themselves. Because that's the most selfish thing they could tell you. No, be selfish with your life. That might help you get it a little bit differently. Do what you really want to do that's in your heart. Because everybody else is going to be against you, because chances are, most likely, things are way out of alignment in your life. You may have to move to the whole other end of the country just to get close to people who might have compatible interests and be serious about it. Aren't you sick of being in bands and people are just simply, they're not serious enough about it? They say they want to do it. They show up late. They don't know the parts. They always have an excuse. Are they drunk? Did they do their drugs that night? Do you have to go pick them up because their car broke down or something happened? In other words, they're not taking responsibility for what it is they really desire to do, or they're telling you that they do. And thus, when somebody really wants to do something, guess what? You get frustrated, you get hurt. Where are they at? Why aren't they showing up? What's wrong with these people? Exactly. If you don't want to do it, stay away from people who do. Because the people who really want to do it don't want to waste time with you. I could have been on tour nationwide, multi-millionaire, and you could have been very well-to-do if you would have frickin' listened to me. I was always the one who spoke in faith. We can do this. We don't even have to be that good. Listen to the stuff on the radio. It's not that great. Some of it is. But come on, you know that. Even if you're an amazing recording artist, you already know. It is true. Tracilyn, I am great, but what? But you don't really have to be that great. You have to what? Make sure that you show up, meaning in every area that it takes to do it. I am sick of musicians who say they want to do something, and then they waste other people's time who do, even if it's not me anymore. If I see it out there, I don't like it. Musicians, if you don't really want to do it and you can't go through the sacrifice, stop saying you want to do it. Go flip burgers at McDonald's. They'll break you in. And by the way, if you can't show up for band practice and know your parts, chances are McDonald's will say you're fired. I could have done a lot of marvelous things with a lot of other people if people would just listen to Tracilyn. Know your part. Show up. Stick to the words you say you're going to do. Man, I got a message for you, musicians who, in my life, made it very difficult on me. Most of my pain and suffering was simply because, what? The rest of the human race wasn't connecting with me in a way that said, hey, we're here. In fact, we got here early. Everything's already set up, plugged in, and ready to go, Tracilyn. Can't wait. I got on my very best clothing for today's performance. Look at the crowd. If you have other priorities, then stick to those other priorities. But some people, they want nothing more than to do music and play and get paid to do it. And they take it very seriously. The details. And it should be fun, by the way, not going around picking people up and finding out, did you learn your part? Do I got to teach you the part? What's going on here? Teaching people the part that are willing to show up, by the way, is amazing, isn't it? If I show you how to play this, will you show up? That's all that matters. You'd be surprised, even if you can't play guitar, there might be somebody who would teach you how to play guitar and say what? Once you learn it, you're with me. You're in this band, we're ready to go. So there. And meanwhile, your friend might play like Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen. Might play like Zakk Wylde. The problem is he never shows up. The problem is he's always drunk. The problem is he's always banging drugs. The problem is he's always arguing with his girlfriend and stuff and making up excuses. Or his boyfriend. The problem is he's always making up excuses. He's not there, not learning the parts, or he shows up 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late. Get there on time. Get there ahead of time. Show interest. Let me tell you something. Even if you don't play guitar and you're hanging out with a band that does play, like Zakk Wylde or something like that, I'm just using an excuse. I'm going to use names. Randy Rhoads. Okay? Let me tell you something. You might not play guitar, but you're hanging out with these people. Don't be surprised if somebody doesn't look at you and say, you know what? You might not play like this Randy Rhoads, but if you pick up a guitar today, I'll show you the way. All you got to do is show up. If you keep doing what you're doing now by showing up and helping out, I'll take you on the road with me. We'll have a blast. These other people who have talent are frustrating me. Exactly. Exactly. And next thing you know, you're doing it, and they're say, what? You're not really that great. Well, to that other person who might step in front of them and say, much different. It's not about your talent. God can use anyone. Somebody with a willing heart. Very frustrating. Your faith, what you believe in. And if this message got into your heart, you can say, what? You mean to tell me that bands out there can really use me? I didn't even start playing guitar yet. I'm 20 years old, I'm 30 years old, I'm 40 years old. I just turned 50, Tracilyn. Are you telling me if I learn how to play bass or guitar, I can jump in? That's right. But the details matter. Will you show up? Will you learn the part? There's a whole lot of other things that are just as valuable, if not way more valuable. Are you kind-hearted? Respectful to people? We got a long ways to go with that. As I'm getting ready to form a band, I would love to explain my perspective on this. But I want to move first for reasons. So I came here and I went to get in the shower. Check this out. Look how high this is. You see, this is a shower, and this is an extension to the shower head. Look how high up that goes. Okay, the extension. And I like this because of why? We're trying to do this the best we can. Why? Because you can disconnect it. You know, you can rinse out the shower all the time. So I kind of like that. Let's just be honest. I like the shower head. Plus you can use it to massage, give massages and stuff. And I don't really take time for it like I wish I did. You know, because I've been working on a lot of these video projects, and each one I do, when it comes to video tutorials like this one, or not tutorials, just sharing. How about that? Sharing videos. It takes time because I actually go through and edit it, and it takes a very long time. Because I want to make sure if I do catch something that I don't approve that I said, I want to remove it. Sometimes things come out in anger that I don't want, and some things come out and it seems like, why should it be there, Tracilyn, if it came out in anger? Because I really meant it. And I like to double check that. With that being said, I verify that the things that I say, that you see me say like this, it's real. In the moment. Now, a year from now, I might feel totally different. This has been the most therapeutic experience in my life. Opening up to a camera, then sitting down and listening to yourself talk, and then uploading it publicly, kind of like therefore exploiting you or humiliating yourself. It's rewarding. I love to turn on, hit play, and listen to myself, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I went through this stuff. All the more reason that Christ is what? The only acknowledgement that I have that says it's why I'm still here on this earth. Now check this out. Look where that is hanging. This, what is this called? The scrunchie? See where the scrunchie is hanging, and then watch when I step back. Now, I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to go get the tripod. I want you to see it. Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to see where the floor is, right here. And I'm going to start raising this up before I go to stand in, because I'm 6 foot, almost 2. 6'1" 3/4. Now look at this. There's the shower head extension I have. What I want you to acknowledge is, look what Dayton, Ohio does, the township. And this is by a building that gets government contract to help people on low income in need. How in the world would I take a shower like this? I would have to be squatting down in order to take a shower. Now let me ask you something. If I owned a building and was getting government assistance, or taking people with government assistance, and I had a contract that I could actually do that with our government, then why would there not be codes of regulations that were considered to be substantially suitable for the mass of the human life forms that are here in our citizenship of America? Okay? This is how I would have to take a shower for 4 years. I would have had to take a shower like this. So, what's the problem, Tracilyn? Well, the problem is I don't have much of a budget to work with. And this here looks like it was created back in the day. This is a 70s building, a 1970s building. My grandmother, Margaret, was only 4 foot 10 or 11, which was kind of funny because so was my first girlfriend, Tracy. They were almost identical height. Okay, this brought me closer to my friend because my grandmother was a godly woman and I loved her very much. And she used to make me laugh because she had to sit on a pillow in her driver's seat of the car. And I used to think it was amazing because she had to wear very high clogger-like heels in order to have some height and that she felt comfortable to communicate with the human race. She felt better with these heels on. So with that being said, it brought her up taller. With that being said, I am 6'2". I had to get this extension, and it's cheap. Let's just face it, it's cheap, Trump. Shouldn't we have a standard on the workmanship and the craftsmanship of what is acceptable and approved to be sold in our community stores? How fair is it to us who always have to buy this cheap products and not that of quality? I can't tell you how disturbing it is for me to use cheap stuff, but I have to use what I have to use to make it through life, because life is valuable to me. Unfortunately, I've been doing this, a lot of it, on my own, Joyce Myers, okay? Very little support. Without Christ and acknowledging it, I would not be here today. So in other words, this stuff upsets somebody, when the truth is, I'm a tenant. I'm a citizen of the United States of America, okay? Whether I'm poor in the world's eye, I am not poor at all. My intelligence and awareness is superior than what maybe it used to be when I was first born. How's that? And with that being said, I find it total unjust, and it sickens me a lot of times because why? Because I'm a very kind-hearted, very loving person. I'm a very Christ-like spirit. I don't want to argue, fight, and scream and point out little funny things. But the truth of the matter is, from everything I know as I went through life, there should be OSHA regulations that simply say what? That garbage can should not be close to the tenant's windows. Many of them. It should not be that close to the tenant's windows. With that being said, the parking in the lot. Okay? We need much more so that there could be visitors even. And nobody has to worry about where are we going to park tonight. The road needs fixed out front, not to mention parking would help with looking out safely to come and go from the driveway. I have ideas for this place to actually talk to the person, I guess, or entity of people who own it. It's not that hard to take care of, really. Now, why there hasn't been action applied, I don't know. When there's a hole in your wall that was put there by maintenance, it should be taken care of pretty quickly. And it should have been noted properly. And I should have got a copy with an apology of we had to put a hole there for this reason. It will be taken care of. It's been almost 1.5 years, 2 years. It has never been completed. With most things, you should be able to just submit, hi, I'm a tenant. I shouldn't have to do it with a specific personality if I'm respectful. There you go, I'm a tenant. These are the things that I need fixed. Done, over with. I shouldn't feel like I'm a prisoner and I can't say anything or else I'm going to suffer some kind of consequence. Okay? Therefore, if it is that way, then maybe there should not be allowed the person or entity of people to have this, or buildings like this. Maybe they shouldn't be permitted to have the government contracts. And maybe they should be considered giving them to contracts to people who care differently.